Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Cathedral Sharing the Light. Thank you for being with us today. And before we begin this episode, let me take this opportunity to invite you that if you're ever in the Fort Lauderdale area, to worship with us on Sunday mornings at 9 and 10:30 a.m. And if you have a chance, you can also visit our website at www.sunshinecathedral.org for a lot more information about all that is going on at the Sunshine Cathedral. Now, let's join this episode of Sharing the Light with Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins, who is the senior pastor of the Sunshine Cathedral, and Reverend Cindy Lippert as they discuss Spiritually Unlimited.
Welcome to another episode of Sharing the Light, the talk show here that we do at the Sunshine Cathedral. With me today, P.S. I'm Durrell Watkins, the senior minister here at the Sunshine Cathedral. With me today is the Reverend Cindy Lippert. And you may have seen one of our ads. We have a lot of wonderful ads in local papers, on the website, in our newsletter, in our monthly publication called Spirit and Truth, in some of our e-blasts. We have these wonderful ads. And one of them says, the Sunshine Cathedral is culturally Christian, but spiritually unlimited. Culturally Christian and spiritually unlimited. And that phrase we actually stole, just straight up just took it from the Reverend Cindy Lippert, who stole it from somebody else. So there's nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes said. So, but that's true. We really believe that. Another one of our ads says that Sunshine Cathedral is where we take the Bible seriously rather than literally. And I think that's kind of the same thought, that we are culturally Christian, but we are spiritually unlimited. So what do you think, Cindy? What do we mean when we say that we are spiritually unlimited? How, a lot of people say, and I'll just confess this, I hate when people say this. When people say XYZ is unchristian, or worse, when somebody is unchristian, that is so ridiculous to me. And it seems like only Christians say that. I've never heard a Jewish person say that's so un-Jewish, or a Muslim person say that's not very Muslim, or a Baha'i person say that's not Baha'i. It seems to be unique to Christians that when Christians don't like what other Christians say or do, that their judgment, their self-righteous judgment, is that's not Christian, which seems pretty not Christian. That's not the message of that would be appealing to anyone. So if we're going to say we're Christian, culturally Christian, we grew up in a Christian family, grew up in a Christian community, grew up in a country that, by and large, was predominantly identified with various Christian denominations. Not all. There have always been Jews. There have always been atheists. There have always been Buddhists. Always been Theosophists, and Masons and what. But like most of the people we knew were Christian, we identified Christian, we know the Christian stories, we go to churches that still practice Christian liturgies and read Christian scriptures. The culture is very Christian for us. But we are also open to wisdom where, from other sources. Truth is truth, no matter where it comes from. We value people who have different experiences and who have chosen different paths. We don't think that God is rejecting anyone because they're in this club rather than that club, or using this label instead of that label. In fact, I would have no use for such a God. So we are culturally Christian. We're not ashamed of being Christian. We love being Christian. We find a lot of value in what we think Jesus stood for and said. And maybe other people said some great things too, and maybe non-Christians have contributed some great things in the world, and we can appreciate that and even incorporate some of that into our own faith journeys, maybe. So we're culturally Christian, but we're spiritually unlimited. How is it that we can be Christian and so-called spiritually unlimited?
It's really interesting. Jesus was such a big deal, and yet we put all these constraints on what
not
we
a Christian,
think
though.
He
was Jewish.
He was not a Christian. He was so Jewish. I think he really brought the mystical into his Judaism. I think that's what it's really about. When we say new thought, I always think that he had a new thought about Judaism. I think that's really what it's about. But the idea that we have so many constraints on what Christianity is and what it isn't, it seems to call to mind spirituality that there really are no words for. How come we have so many words trying to explain what it is? So it just reminds me that some folks need a country club kind of identity, where we all wear blue or whatever, and therefore if we're part of a particular community, we're safe because we all look alike, so we must all, and we all think alike.
This boat's going going to the great place, so get in the boat.
Exactly.
And people not in the boat are hosed.
They're totally hosed,
yeah.
right. So, but that gives some people comfort, Durrell, and I think that we have to honor the fact that that is the mindset. I think as many different people as there are on the planet.
I figured out so young, though. I mean, I remember telling some one of those door-to-door people that come and torment you about, do you know if you died where you would go? Well, of course I don't. You don't either. But I remember telling that person, like having a discussion, and I just said, you know what? If Gandhi's not there, I don't want to go.
Well,
what kind of heaven would it be that Gandhi couldn't get into?
See, I'm a late bloomer, I guess, because I didn't figure it out. I got baptized twice in the Baptist church. That means serious baptism. You all practice baptism, but we really practice baptism. So you go under the water twice.
We're much more conservative with the water, though. We just use a
go.
little tiny bit. We don't fill up a hole.
Well, we didn't have global warming back then, so we didn't care about that. I'm just saying. So anyway, that was a passive-aggressive remark. Anyway, but, the idea for me is yesterday, I'm on the plane. There's a gal sitting next to me. The last 20 minutes of the flight, we start talking. She's a yoga instructor. Well, I should have figured that out because she sat there in her seat with her knees under her chin. That was my first clue.
Yes.
The second clue, she was eating wonderful vegetable salad, in her Tupperware. But we got started talking, and she told me she was Buddhist. And she asked me about New Thought. And she said, can you give me an idea of what the basic tenets are? I said, sure, omnipresence. We don't believe in a deity that is sitting on a cloud trying to decide if you're naughty or nice, or ruling the universe by whim, or bipolar God, or schizophrenic God, or sociopath God. And no disrespect. She said,
anger management issue God.
Anger management issue God. That there isn't anybody on the planet that can figure out this God, so we all have our take on it. And she said, that sounds like Buddhism. I said, of course it does. Because it's the mysticism. I said, we grab onto Jesus's teachings, not seeing Jesus as a great exception, but a great example and a teacher that is saying, if I can do it, you can do it. I and the Father are one. He didn't mean to exclusion of you, but that energy of all that God is permeates in and throughout each one of us, beyond the things seen and unseen and all the places in between, that in the micro to the macro universe, stuff we can't even think about, the thing that banged the thing that caused the big bang before the bang, all of that, before and after.
That's actually in the historic creeds. We believe in one God. It says, in one.
Right.
And creator of all that is, seen and unseen. So this creator and what does the creator have to create out of? Itself.
Right.
And so the creator that has created everything, what is it going to exclude? And if it's creating from itself, what is not divine? I mean, so it's not this big, huge secret that we've uncovered. This is what people have always been saying, but there's always been a disconnect between the words they say and then how they teach it or understand it or live it.
Yeah.
And so more progressive communities and mystical communities and metaphysical communities and New Thought communities, they still value all those things.
Yes.
But they see them not as a way to divide and conquer, but as a way to unite and for people to wake up to their unity with the divine.
Sure.
And even Protestant theologian, 20th century Protestant theologian Paul Tillich. This is a Protestant theologian. Defined God as the ground of being. As being itself.
There you have
the
it.
being beyond being. The God beyond God. That's the terminology of Protestant theologian Paul Tillich, which every seminarian had to study, and yet so few people quote Tillich in the pulpit. Shame on them.
Sure. Well, they just probably haven't been exposed.
No, he was the most significant Protestant theologian of the 20th century. Everybody knows Tillich. But so you hear these things that sound sort of woogie and scary, from people like you, one with God, blah, blah. This is not new.
No.
This is not new even within so-called traditional or Orthodox Christianity.
Doesn't this go back to ancient Egyptian religion? I mean, you see it in very ancient wisdom disciplines of a lot of different religions, but that one common thread that one common thread. And this to me is very freeing.
Every religion has a golden rule, has a version of the golden rule. It's
Yes.
the exact same golden rule.
There you go.
So many religions have these heroes that are born in miraculous ways that so love the community that they'll risk their own lives for it, and then if they die they don't stay dead. And like, this is a story that's told over and over and over again, which means there's something that the story is pointing to beyond the story itself.
Sure.
So instead of fighting over which story is the accurate story,
Right.
maybe they're all pointing to a truth, and the truth is so universal that we keep making up stories to get to the truth, because the truth is just there. It's got to be told.
Apollonius of Tyana was another prophet at the time of Jesus, and his followers thought Jesus was a magician.
Yes.
But Apollonius was also virgin born.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were many virgin births until they discovered egg cells.
Yes.
In the 15th century, I believe. And oops.
Yeah, you have to understand the myths differently once you understand, once the science gets better.
Catches up, right.
Yeah, once the science gets better. The flat Earth stories don't make as much sense once we no longer have a flat Earth.
Sure.
And that sort of. So yeah, it's there's nothing new under the sun. So when we say we're spiritually unlimited, we're just saying we're not going to be limited by doctrine and dogma. We're going to see what new things we can discover. What is Jesus saying to us today? And here's or if you happen to be a Jesus person, what is the person you're following saying to you today? But the thing is that there is nothing new under the sun. So we are just trying to find what is new for us. And Jesus said, "Seek and you will find." So what we are is we're seeking. We're just seekers, and we get excited when we discover something that's new for us and relevant for us. And the truth is, readers make meaning. So any person who is coming to any study is bringing themselves to it. And whenever we know from science that the observer affects the observed. Mm-hmm. And so this is this never-ending, exciting dialogue. Not here are some things written in stone. You better understand it or you're out.
Sure. I think the idea is just so much more freeing than, the Church of the 729 rules, that if I don't get them all right, I'm doomed after this life. I have nothing to look forward to. Instead, I have unlimited possibilities.
So that's what we mean when we say that we are culturally Christian, love us some Jesus, love the Bible, but we are spiritually unlimited. We just think that spirituality can be so much bigger than we've ever experienced yet. And we're just trying to experience that and share that. And the more people who join in, the bigger and better that's going to look, because every new addition to the conversation shifts the conversation. And that's what we have today on Sharing the Light.
Thank you for joining us for another great episode of Sharing the Light. Tell your friends about this online ministry, and when you're in Southeast Florida, make sure you worship with us on a Sunday at the 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. service. And now for a final word from our senior pastor, the Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins.
Email me at durrell@sunshinecathedral.net if you have a religious question or if you'd like to subscribe to our daily devotional magazine, Spirit and Truth. We'll send it anywhere in the United States for an annual donation of any size. You can also email us prayer requests, or you can make donations on our website, www.sunshinecathedral.org. You'll also want to check out our great performing arts series, religious education classes, conferences, and other exciting activities. For now, we wish you many blessings on your spiritual journey.